Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of day or night it is, I wish you the best of it. My name is Grant Lamontang, owner of multitool.org and SAKWiki.com, and you are listening to EDC TV. My special guests with me today are Abe Elias, owner of Diving Sparrow Knife Works and field editor for Blade Magazine. We also have Chris. How are you today, Inky?
Well, how about yourself?
I'm doing good. Abe, how are you doing today?
Since I'm on the podcast, I'm doing incredible.
That is fantastic. So, we're new at this, and, well, quite honestly, we don't really know what we're doing, so we're going to figure it out along the way, because we're just going to keep doing what we do. So today, our topic is going to be, what do you like? So, the idea is we're going to discuss who likes the flashlights, who's really into the knives, who likes the multi-tools, the Swiss Army knives, the fidget spinners, the wallets, the watches, the hankies, the whatever EDC gear, which are the ones that appeal to you most. And I think I'm going to start with you there, Abe. What appeals to you the most and why?
Obviously, I choose the knife as my base. I would never go anywhere without one. But I am a victim of everything you just listed. That's why I'm poor. I buy the bandanas, I buy the LEDs, I buy the lighters. I just need to clone myself so I can get a second job and be there to pay for it all.
So just to interject a little bit quickly there, the O-Fins is going to end in just a few hours in case you felt like you needed something extra from Light or O-Knife or, oh my God, feel free to jump on.
You screwed me last time, Grant, because last time you did that, I dropped $100 on their frickin'. That's why I'm poor, dude. I'm a handyman, so as I've told you, I do rental property maintenance. So the only reward to crawling around on a urine-covered floor in a bathroom fixing a toilet that's overflowed is going to one of those sites and spending the money I make on the KSL.
Yeah, I know that feeling. So, Inky, what is it about the EDC world that really gets you going? What do you like there, man?
Mostly knives. I always have knives. Wallet guy, but I don't like carrying them anymore, so I'm always looking for the right wallet. That's it. I don't wear watches anymore. Always multi-tools too. Swiss Army knives, anything gadgety like that. Flashlights, actually downsize those a little bit.
Yeah, those are all good things to have.
Sure.
Personally, I've been collecting Swiss Army knives since probably the early to mid-'80s, more seriously since probably the late '90s, early 2000s, but I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody. I started multitool.org when I owned about 7 multi-tools, and that seemed to be about, that was more than anybody else seemed to have at the time, so I felt like I was a bit of an authority. So I started the site with 7 multi-tool reviews, and I think I done my market analysis and found 2 other people that like multi-tools, and that was what we had to launch multitool.org with, and that's been almost 20 years, so I gotta say, obviously it worked. Or we're just too dumb to realize that it didn't, whichever one.
It's still around, so it worked. So, I got a question for you.
Yeah,
since we're talking about our favorites. So I have a base. I'm going to share my base with you. And then if you guys got a base, I'd love to hear it. There's obviously I carry more than this stuff, especially to my handyman, because I've got a use for a different group of tools. Well, my bare minimum is I never leave the house without a knife, never leave the house without a lighter. I never leave the house or some form of making fire, but it's always a lighter. And I never leave the house without a light. Those are my 3 bases. You guys got something like that going on?
Yeah, I carry a small Maxpedition pouch. It's actually in the truck right now, and it is my regular carry. I've got, what have I got in there? Yeah, similar to that one. It's I've got a Woburn G5 in it because, well, I won't get into that light now. We'll complain about that later. It's remarkably compact. It's about the size of a Zippo, and I like it for the size. There's some other good things about it, but as you know, Abe, there's also some horrible things about that one. I also carry I think it's the O-Knife UK Pro or something like that. It's it's a tactical folder style knife, but instead of a regular blade, it's got one of those utility knife razor blades in it. I also keep a small Swiss Army knife, pens, that sort of thing. I don't know that I have any particular interest in a lot of those, but I definitely have certain likes and don't likes. And, as time goes by with this podcast, we'll discuss what I like in flashlights, and we'll discuss what I like in Swiss Army knives, and we'll discuss, what I like in pens and other things. Realistically, I'm going to go on the record right now and say that you can't beat a Swiss Army knife, you can't beat a Fisher bullet, and as far as flashlights go, you're best to stick with the Olight O-Clip Pro right now would be my ideal choice. In fact, that's what I have attached to my work bag that I use to drag back and forth to our cottage every weekend.
Cool. But so out of those, so you're saying your flashlight's your base, your knife's your base, and what was your other base there? Did you?
I mean, ideally, I would say that, when it comes right down to it, Swiss Army knives and multi-tools would be my thing, really. Definitely pocket knives as well. I'm actually a really big fan of small fixed blades,
Remember that.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the neat small fixed blades I've had, everything from the Outdoor Edge wedge to, I believe you sent me a couple there, Abe. I've got a couple of small ones from Ray Kirk, who was on Forged and Fire a couple of times. The Cold Steel Para Edge, I think is what they call them, the tiny little ones. Yeah, those kinds of... Yeah, exactly that right there. Yeah, I love those kinds of things. You got all the benefits of a fixed blade and most of the benefits of a folder because it's so small and it fits just about anywhere.
So what? Let's just go with three things. What three things would you never leave the house without?
Swiss Army
Your girlfriend
knife.
doesn't count.
Swiss Army knife, multi-tool, and probably I'm going to go with a pen of some sort. And lately it's been that O-Knife pen there, the O-Pen or whatever it's called. I feel like we should be sponsored by O-Knife and Olight today because we've mentioned them like 5 times. But realistically, the best one, is, in my opinion, is always going to be the Fisher Bullet. That's the standard that everything has to live up to. That's the pen right there.
And I'm broke because of your ass, because I went to the site just to get the pen.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I got a message today from another friend of mine who told me that he is now part of the Mossberg Shockwave Club because of me. For those of you watching and not listening at home, here's the photo. I'm going to make sure that I hide his name because I certainly wouldn't want to get Bob in trouble.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, so what 3 things, Inky, would you not leave the house without?
Believe it or not, a knife. This is stuff I just always... I have like 4 or 5 things always, but not what you would think. I always have a pencil. Believe it or not, a drawing pencil. Because I'm like quick draw McGraw. Like I just start drawing for no reason. An A.G. Russell tweezer. Stainless steel classic, and a knife always, and a light. I have that. If not, when I get in my truck, I have it. I don't go anywhere without my truck. I don't ride with other people or anything. So once in a while, I do.
So now I gotta see that tweezer, because once you mentioned it, Grant, boom, jumped in. I've never seen one. I don't ever believe I've seen one on his site.
It's in the truck, but I will show you. That Para Edge that you got there, I carried one through my whole time working, and I sharpened it so much, the serrations are almost plain edge, and I actually put a leather cover over the sheath, and I put paracord through the holes. You can see that if you want.
Yeah, sure, let's hear it.
You're also going to see more bloomers. Here's my bloomers.
Bloomers, I can't see them, so just don't be flashing.
Don't tell him you can't see him, because then he'll make sure you can.
I've carried this a few times. It's not much. I don't know why. It's just because I'm into the folders so much. But this is a hell of a. I might put it in kit somewhere. It's got utility to it. You can tell, right?
Yeah,
you got to find
absolutely.
someplace. Sometimes you got to find a place to put it, and then don't get derogatory.
Well, actually enough, where I used to keep mine on my Uncle Mike's duty belt. I used to keep it under my glove pouch in the center of my back, pointed downwards, because of course it's extremely secure in that sheath. So I always considered it my emergency backup, and I did almost have to use it a couple of times. But the idea was when it was pointed basically right down in between my cheeks, I could easily get it with either hand at any time, if I needed to. So, yeah, and I think my preferred one back in those days was the Tanto Point one. It was very similar to the one that you have there, but obviously a little more squared off and a little more tactical.
Yeah.
So what have you got there, Inky?
Well, that's a cool
That
setup.
looks fantastic.
So did you tether that? Would you tether that to your belt and that's how you would carry it, or would you just leave it in your pocket?
If you could see the edge, you can see it's sharp down to almost plain.
Yeah, there's
This
almost
thing
nothing there.
did about 10 years with me, and it's still a vicious little guy. I bought a new one, and I just was more comfortable. I still have it in the box. I bought it years ago. I never replaced it, and I don't use this anymore. I actually put this leather on. This is interior leather. I put this on after I stopped using it.
Oh, really?
Oh, it looks great.
I folded it down. I did all the inside stitching and put it in reverse, popped the holes, and put the paracord.
It's like a little popsicle of death.
Yeah, I got the little skull on there. So.
See, there you go.
I agree with you. He said he tells me to do bad things, but I don't listen to him. That's why I can't carry it.
So you mentioned carrying yours in your belt. It reminded me of a story, and I'm going to screw his name up. I don't even know if he's still alive. Guy, I knew him well. So back in the day when Kydex sheath making was like pretty brand new, not a lot of people knew how easy it was. There was On Scene Tactical as one of the main producers, and then there was another guy. I think it was like Three Rivers, Mike Shasta, and he was a skinny guy, not very tall guy. And when you mentioned putting this in your belt line and basically carrying it there, to prove how good his Kydex sheaths were and how well they carried, he would walk around with a cold steel buoy jammed in his shorts, and you could not, and his t-shirt pulled over it, and you couldn't tell he was carrying it. He was not a big guy, right? But the trick to that is you got to have a body that goes like this. When I jam something like this into my belt line, even when I line it up with at the 5 o'clock, I can't sit down.
Well,
I got too much curve.
Was that a counter?
It's a Kershaw's
night something?
Yeah. No, secret agent. I think it's
agent. Can you pull that guy out for me? Yeah, I think I have one of those. How do you like that?
It's kind of nice, but the problem is because I'm overweight, I can't carry it in a belt line openly, and I can't tuck it away because it kicks the living crap out of my ribs.
Yeah.
Right? And I bang off everything with it. Like this old cold steel, not to cut you off, Grant, sorry. This old cold steel, I could just normally, what I'd like when I was in shape, when I was skinnier, I could tuck that inside the belt line, and then then I could have access to it.
Is that another one of Eric's sheaths?
It's an old Vaquero. It's an
Vaquero grinder.
Yeah. The Nogales clip point.
Just in case I needed to peel a banana. You know how it is. Sometimes you got a banana or an apple that's giving you trouble.
Yeah.
Is that another one of On Scene Tactical sheaths, sir?
No, this is the original, and I wish I would have had Eric make me an On Scene Tactical board, because the clip is always worried me as far as the sturdiness of the clip. But that's part of the reason why I carried it in my belt line, because it kind of felt that gave me, if the clip went, I had the extra assurance behind it.
Did I ever tell you that I owned his website?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I actually own the domain onscenetactical.com. Eric and I go way back, and I was helping him. I actually hosted his website for free for years, and because he didn't have an account for buying the domain, I bought the domain. And I hosted his website for free for many years, just because he was fantastic. He'd send me a sheath every now and again, and his work was just, second to none. He hated being called a master, but he absolutely was, and a pioneer with Kydex too. I don't think there would be anywhere near as many Kydex makers out there now if it hadn't been for his influence in the early days.
Yeah, and that's another thing that Mike and him were friends. They got along really well. And he was, and I'll tell you, Eric practiced the old business model. Unfortunately, when I was making knives, the knife community is normally really good, except for in the bushcraft area. They started bad mouthing. It was like, okay, look, there's probably, I'm just going to throw out a number, 1,000 bushcraft knives being sold this month. There were certain elements out there. I'm not going to throw any names out there, but they were hell bent that every bushcraft knife sold was theirs. I was like, you know what? Not everybody's gonna like you, and so stop causing so many waves. And the reason why I bring it up is because Mike was one of the big pioneers along with Eric, and they were like this with each other. They were really good with each other. They'd badmouth each other. They'd see each other at the show. They'd chat. I think what caused some of the proliferation of the Kydex making was at one point, just before YouTube had gotten really strong, for whatever reason, I never asked Mike this, he decided to do instructional tutorial DVDs. And that led to more guys just jumping in there. And then the big push with Kydex holsters. And then at that point in time, you couldn't go to an event. Like I remember going to Dave Canterbury's event in Ohio and teaching there, and some portable Kydex sheath and holster maker showed up, and he was all weekend long. He was busy pumping stuff out of the back of a trailer. So,
what are you thinking about over there, Inky?
None. I don't use much Kydex, but I still like leather for the most things. But yeah, I've seen some really nice stuff. Recently, I can't remember who it was. I've seen a really nice leather Kydex combination. I know
Really?
I think those are starting to become popular now. I mean, it was really nice. I tried to remember who it was, but yeah.
As somebody who's
think
got a
Kydex-
history of falling down, I really have developed a fondness for Kydex since I also have an aversion to stabbing myself.
Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. I find overall I generally prefer to not stab myself when falling over. God knows I'm going to probably break a bone anyway, so, why have to deal with stitches too?
Yeah, there's two areas I think it's really good to use Kydex or get a folder. And that's if you're ATV riding or you're a horseback rider. I think it makes sense to either get a folder or Kydex. I know the old cowboys used to ride around with buoys, thinking there's a safer way to ride around.
Because they don't rot.
Buddy of mine, remember the AG Woodwalker? Remember that? The Woodswalker? There's a little knife and like a flat pancake kind of sheath. You keep in your
looked
pocket.
like a paring knife. Looks like a paring knife, right?
He fell backwards on his button. That whole blade was right up in there. It was in. He was like, I ain't carrying this anymore. I was like, obviously,
That reminds me of that joke where you remember the Seinfeld joke? 1 in a million shot, Doc. 1 in a million shot. I just fell down and it went right up there. Oh.
Yeah.
If you guys want an entertaining time, when you go to a party, if there's a nurse from an ER, get her drunk and just listen to the stories.
You can get me drunk. You cannot get me drunk, I can tell you the stories. I worked in the ER trauma center for probably 12 years. Same thing. The stories are great. As far as what they tell you. I can tell you good stories, but what people tell you happened to them are the absolute best stories that you can hear. How they got things in certain places.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's people coming in with light bulbs.
Curtain rods, vacuums, all things stuck everywhere. Yeah.
Okay, let's remember that this is an EDC podcast, and
right. That's for them. That was their EDC, though.
Yeah.
Well, some people may prefer to carry things in their prison wallets.
Yeah.
We're looking more for the standard type sheath or pocket carry. That sort of thing.
Isn't where you carry; it's that you're program compliant and that you carry.
Yes, true.
Yes, absolutely. This is one of those times where I'm going to cringe that we're going to be advertising the email address, which is probably going to be down at the bottom of the screen while I mention this. But I have a feeling that I'm going to be inundated with an awful lot of messages from an awful lot of people telling me about all the funny stories about how they accidentally got a fidget spinner stuck somewhere where you never should have a fidget spinner.
There is no place you shouldn't have a fidget spinner.
Maybe they were really talented. Could spin it there, right?
Yeah, you never know.
That's where I like to EDC my kazoo.
And then eat beans.
Okay, so this is going downhill quickly, as I fully expected it to with this group.
There you go.
The funniest thing is, of course, for those who are still listening at this point, while we were waiting to record, these two yahoos had very in-depth knife conversations that you all wish you were privy to. And now we're talking about sticking things up your butt.
Well, let's make it relative to multi-tools then. So which multi-tool would you think would be most effective at removing stuff from somebody's butt? Let's let's pick a model here. Inky, which model of multi-tool do you think could get, say, a Barbie doll out of there?
We'll go with the PST.
I really think I'm going to be just cutting out this whole section.
I don't want you editing this out. You edit this out, I'm going to send you a rotten kumquat in the mail when the mail service is back on. I don't give a shit. There's a saying in the writing business, and it's not my saying. It was given to me by one of my editors. One time I put something in an article specifically to see his proofreading on whether or not he caught it, and he'd take it out. And then he told me he left it in. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Sometimes it's important to leave stuff like that in so that people can see the personality of the writer. So now your whole readership thinks I'm a psychopath." But okay.
This is...
You do have a personality.
Something that, we take very seriously at multitool.org. I use a lot of AI for a lot of different things. And in fact, I'm going to be using a lot of AI for editing this. But I'll tell you, if it's one thing that we never, ever, ever do, it's use AI to write reviews. Not only is the information incorrect, but, it just doesn't have that personal touch. And that's really, I think, where we're going with this podcast is to get that personal touch, We've said it before, anybody can read crap out of a catalog or off of a website and talk about the specs, but, the reality is, guys like us, we've been around, we've seen it all, we've done it all, we've probably done cocaine off of a hooker's ass with them all, and, that's the real-world kind of experience that you're expecting at multitool.org, and we're going to be doing here at EDC TV. And it's not always going to be pretty. I mean, look at these faces. This is not a pretty show, but... Well, okay, with the exception of...
I just want to say thanks, Grant. I crossed an international border. The cocaine off a hooker's ass, and I crossed an international border. If I end up getting a cavity search, we're going to have a talk.
Well, I'm paying extra for you to get that cavity search, Abe.
Just leave the hooker home.
Customs guard that has to do it.
If it's one thing I know about Customs Guard, they'll do anything for $20. But my experience with the customs officers aside, you guys know this is a knife show, right?
Yeah, we covered. Didn't we just cover multi-tool use in a very obscure way? We just covered it. So, just saying.
I like knives.
Yeah, I like knives. I don't like cavity searches, but I like knives. Jesus. So, unfortunately...
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick out certain quotes from these things that I'm going to have shirts printed up with them, and that is definitely going to be one of them. I don't like body cavity searches. Abe Elias, Diving Sparrow Knife Works.
There we go. So, do you recognize this?
That looks like a skint sheath. Yeah, I can see the tag. That is from my good friend Eric Au in Winnipeg.
And you gave this to me. So
did I?
Yes, you did. You gave this to me. And
God, what a nice person I am.
Yeah, well, let's not get crazy. Let's not get crazy. You're a kayak paddler after all. I want to say that this has been instrumental for me since I've gotten it. And you're wondering how. It's because this is the Dual Force by Gerber.
Right.
So I find when I'm testing new knives out, you want to test the sheaths out, but this is the sheath it comes in. And this kind of is not my style of carry. So when I want to have something I can carry and it's a new multi-tool, this is the one I do. I take it out of its original. I'll carry it a little bit in its original sheath, and then when I want to give it a long-term run and I want to run it, and then I want to test it and write about it and say something about it, it gets put in this. Because this, and anybody who does sheath designing, please pay attention out there, I think is way more effective for like just urban carry. I'm not putting on a molly thing. So at the end of the day, or if I got to get into a car, I got to go someplace, I can get this off without fight or undoing my belt. So because of this, I have rotated in the past couple of months through the Dual Force, the Swiss Army tool, and this one I don't carry in a sheath. So if that's when we're talking about what I carry. As a handyman, I carry a multi-tool. I leave the knife at home because these save my ass so much when I'm doing my job.
What was that there, Leatherman Wave?
It was a Leatherman Wave. And I got the pocket clip for this 2 years ago. And this is pretty much my main carry for when I do my handyman work. This one, I enjoyed it. I like it. It's just, it has to be pouched.
The Swiss tool, yeah.
Now this, I'll tell you, just today, I've used it before, but just today I used it again. These are much more tougher jaws for grabbing a nut and tightening the son of a bitch up. The pliers work. Don't get me wrong, they work. But when you got to, like, I had to fix a lawnmower, the bolt that held the arm on so I could push the thing around. And this, I reefed a little shit out of it with this. And it grabbed it nice. Only problem is when you go to put them away, you got to be careful, because if you've got them, if they accidentally slip into the adjustment where they're further apart, they won't close.
Yeah, I wish there was some sort of locking mechanism where you could slot it into one side or the other and lock it into place.
Yeah.
That's a common problem I've had with those ones as well. Otherwise, I really, really love the pliers on that.
Yeah.
Those are brought to you by the makers of RoboCop. That's pretty sick.
But you notice the easiest way to close them, when you close them, is put your hand up on the pliers one side, keep them from sliding open, because sometimes what will happen is as you go to close them, it'll make you bring it up and it'll slide into the next knot. But really quickly, thank you very much. This has been so useful. Just this little pouch. I don't know if he's still in business, but it's made well. It hardly looks. I mean, I wear it and I clean it off because it's orange, but it's tough. It hasn't popped not one stitch in the whole frickin' thing.
Actually, Eric is still in business. He's making a variety of different things now, but Skint Solutions is still online, still available. You can order anything you want from him. And he's a really great guy to deal with, and the quality is top notch. And that is not a paid advertisement. That is absolutely 100% true. I believe that was a gift that Eric had sent me, and so I'm happy to pass it on, and especially since I see that you're getting so much use out of it.
Yeah, the only I wouldn't say it's a complaint thing I would change because it's me. Other people might be different. It's kind of difficult sometimes if you're moving fast, to get the snaps done up, because the last thing you want to do is lose your really good tool out of this. And so I kind of wish you had a model with Velcro. But then if you have Velcro, then you have a little bit of problem with the distance, and you gotta. That's one of the things these see. Look at how big that patch of Velcro is on the Gerber one to compensate for the different size of tools.
But I seem to recall him having an issue with Velcro, and I don't really recall what it was, but I believe there's a reason why he uses snaps. He also does some custom work because these are all hand-stitched by him. If you really want Velcro, I'm sure he can make that happen.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like the snaps. It's so we're talking EDC here. My law of EDC is convenience. So what I want is, like, this is convenient. If I pull that out of my pocket, I need to cut something. This is a regular one-handed style opener. So one-handed style opener, it's convenient. Now this one here, since I just happen to have it out, this is a bitch of mine. Why the? No, it's not this model. It's this model. So it's the one-handed. My bitch with this one is why the hell?
It looks like a Gerber flick, is it not?
Yeah, it's the one-handed, the freehand. That's what it's called, freehand.
The bigger version of the flick, then, yeah.
Yeah. Here's my bitch. Who the frick just thought this up? What crackhead thought that I needed to waste a whole space for a flathead screwdriver and a ruler? I'm sorry. I would have loved to. I've used the file on my Wave so many freaking times. And if I'm tearing this, I missed this. Sorry, that's my opinion.
I find that those there with the flathead screwdriver on the end, the heat treat is generally quite terrible, and if you try to use those as a pry bar or a flathead on a particularly tough screw, you're just going to twist it, so I generally just don't.
And these most of these are made to accommodate these. So what do I need another flathead screwdriver for? Give me my file.
Oh yeah, the flatheads on Leatherman tools is usually the worst. They've got, 10 tools and 3 of them are various size flatheads. Like, come on, give me something else. Put some thought into this.
It's like a bottle opener. Give me one bottle opener, and maybe don't even give me a bottle opener. So you got to twist off. But take a look at that saw blade too. It's the two thing is staggered. It's a pull cut. It's staggered, much too fine. And look how clogged that thing is up. I had to cut a branch today, and they were slower than shit. If I pulled my Wave out or my Victorinox, I think this is the Spirit. Is that the no, not Spirit? It's the Victorinox tool.
That's the standard Swiss tool.
Yeah, the Swiss tool. If I pulled either one of these out, I could have cut through the whole tree in the time it took me to cut through a tiny little bringer.
Yep.
I love the Victorinox saws, man. Even on the knives, they're just as good. Amazing.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons why it's just slow is look how it clogged up. I still don't have the shit out of there.
You give it a spine tap?
No. I still got my fingers left. I didn't do any spine
No,
tap.
I mean to knock that stuff out.
Oh yeah, no, I
Sometimes
give
it's
her a good
fun.
tap. I give her a good tap. It's very fine. I don't know if you can see it. If you look at
See,
it's clogged, so it's kind of. Let me see if I
see
can.
where you,
I gotta. I can't.
see
I was
where
gonna use this.
you're,
This is Kumin at 50% off. You can't clean the saw with that. I give her a good tap. I find that you almost got to go like this to get the shit out of there. But so maybe you can see it now. Let's bring it over. See, it's 2 rows of teeth, and they're very
yeah.
fine, and that's why it's clogged all the shit. This is not. If you look at, let's take a look at the Victorinox one. That saw's in the business. My
Yeah.
folding knife. My folding knife is
Amazing.
like a monster. It's a monster. My folding knife. Where are you? There's my file.
Even Wenger's had good wood saws on them, man.
I was going to say that the only saw, in my opinion, that's better than the Victorinox saw is the Wenger saw found on the 130 millimeter New Ranger series,
See
which
that?
is, I guess, currently the Delamont series from Victorinox.
You see how nice that is?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's two
they're
teeth.
beautiful.
It's 2 teeth, but there's no gap in the row. They cross over each other. That's the pattern. That's the design that keeps this from clogging because you've got no channel down the middle.
It also keeps it smooth because you're not hitting two teeth next to each other constantly. So
Yeah.
it gives you a nice.
But you see where that wood's sticking? It's
Yeah.
sticking in a small
And-
channel in between.
You can see how you're fighting that saw too when you're using it.
I
You
mean,
can
it's
see
got a
why
good
you-
length to it. It's got a good length to it, so because the trick I used to teach dovetail cutting in Lee Valley, and you wouldn't be familiar with the Lee Valley, it's a really kind of a high-end woodworking store, Inky, or maybe you would. I don't know, but you don't have it in the States. So I used to teach, and the trick was teaching people to use the whole saw. So this has got good length to it. Look, that's a good size saw. There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with that
definitely.
length. It's the teeth pattern that clogs up because it's not really a channel, but there's a little bit more space between the teeth, side to side, and that clogs it up. You know, I never get that problem with this, especially this. This is one I use in finished carpentry. Believe it or not, sometimes I got to take a little cut. So that's Grant remembers what model this is. This thing cuts like a maniac. I think that's my
I think that
What
was
is
the Ranger, was it not?
Ranger or something
Victorinox
like
Ranger.
that. Yeah, this thing cuts like a maniac.
Well,
I
you know
love
what
the-
I always
the-
say when you're trying to identify a Swiss Army knife, feel free to go to SAKWiki.com, one of the sponsors of this EDC TV podcast. And now back to
best.
Inky.
Good Mickey from Faggy, Sneaky.
Oh,
Well, we
you
up
were
to
saying
Anna
something.
Banner, Full Banner. You know, I like knives. I was going to say I didn't know what model that was. I couldn't see what it was, but I remember we established it was a Ranger last time.
Now I've got this one. I was really anxious to get it. It's the Boker style Swiss Army knife. It's a good knife, but again, they try to defer themselves from Swiss Army by showing something a little different. This son of a bitch almost tore a big chunk of flesh off of me. It's,
I think that's their
their strap
isn't that the
cutter.
new Japanese pinky remover or something like that?
Pretty much, yeah. If you don't
Does
bow
it-
to the head of the Yakuza, they'll take your
That's the
finger off.
Boka Yuk. It's the Boka Yuk.
Speaking
Problem
of,
is, That's supposed
Sorry,
to be a
go
little flathead screwdriver. Sorry, go ahead.
So you cut your finger off while you're working with it.
Yeah.
that's multitasking. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, if you got like a splinter that's really deep.
I was just
You
going
need
to
to
say
remove the whole
there.
finger.
Why not?
Speaking of Swiss Army style knives that are coming from different companies, do you guys recall the Swiss Steel line from Cold Steel? And
Yeah.
if so, did either of you ever manage to get a hold of any of them? Because I don't know that they were ever actually produced.
I remember them. I don't remember. I never had one.
I actually tell you the truth, I have no recollection of them at all. I mean, I don't remember what year it was or anything like that. I just don't have a recollection of them at all.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and they were. I believe the marketing was typical Cold Steel, talking about how, people shouldn't have to use those expensive Swiss knives. And I'm thinking to myself, to this day, with the exception of perhaps Mora and Opinel, Victorinox is, one of the most affordable knives out there, particularly when you consider the quality level for them.
Yeah.
I think they put more energy into the slip joints. Remember they went after that, they went into slip joints? And I think they did a little bit better with them. Like Stockman, Trapper, I forget what they made. But
Yeah,
those are
Stockman's.
still, yeah,
Sorry,
pretty sure. 3-bladed Stockman, I think. 2-bladed
And
Trapper, maybe.
Two-bladed hunter. They had the two-bladed hunter. The law.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean as far as a knife?
Yeah, two-bladed hunter. I've got one here. I own one, but I don't have the Cold Steel here. But I've got an old Camillus two-bladed hunter somewhere on the table here. if I could ever clean my table, I could actually eat at it.
Now that's like the Hunter, the large one.
Yeah, it's 2 blades. You got a skinning blade, a small blade that's more like a boning blade, and then you've got like a and basically cleaning blade, and then you've got a big clip point. Somewhere around here at this stupid table is a leather
It's
pouch.
not a spade in it, right?
Sorry?
It's not a spade, right? A spade and a clip?
No, not a spade and clip. It's a skinner and a clip. It kind of resembles what some people kind of resembles a California clip point. You know how the clip points move back? Where the heck? I'm sorry, guys. I can't find it. I didn't plan on talking about it, so I didn't really.
That's okay. We're getting a lovely close-up of your ear.
Yeah, it's a nice ear. I've had this ear all my life. I grew it myself.
Good one. And make it Easter one.
There it is. I found it. Sorry. Now you get my mustache.
Wait, let me trim that for you, that mustache.
Yeah. So this is the Camillus one. It's an American.
Come on back. There you go. Yes. That's what that is.
Okay,
it's a
so
little
here's
bit.
the two. So it has the main blade is this one.
Yeah, it's an elongated flute.
And this is one I've never really quite. I bet you I got to look it up. I'll ask somebody. See this? That's more like a boning blade.
Yeah, it's like a muskrat kind of blade.
Yeah, but it's huge.
It's like a skinner. That's a skinning boning blade. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say.
So this I'm walking. And it's in an aftermarket sheath because the sheath is not the original. So one of the very first knives I owned that broke, this back spring broke on the main blade, was a Schrade version of this. And so funny story, I was down visiting Tony Bowes in Indiana when he was alive. And the last time I went down there, I mentioned to him how we were talking about original knives we collected. I mentioned that I had a Barlow and stuff like that. And I mentioned that before I knew how to repair them, I had that one broken and I stupidly threw it away. It was broken. So he pulled a case version of this knife out of his own personal collection and gave it to me. And that will, before I go, the only time that's going to leave is when I go to a retirement home. They won't let me take it with me to cut my food.
His knives were expensive as they were, but I don't remember him. Him and Case made a lot of money.
Oh,
His stuff is expensive. And him giving you, that's not a popular knife. That is a popular knife by Case, but you don't see him. I think they call him the Copperhead or something like that. I don't know what they call him.
The Copperhead's a smaller one, and it's a one-bladed one that locks back. He gave me the Case one in Rose Stag. He had one in Rose Stag, and he gave it to me. It's kind of like not a faded blood color.
Yeah. It's nice. Very nice, man.
So
I had one recently, a Case one, really old, really busted up. And I thought I'd throw it on eBay, get a couple of bucks. It went for a little more. Broken blades, rust, and everything. It's probably a 10 dot. I couldn't even count the dots. But it went for a lot more than I thought it was going to. The same thing like that, but the Case one. Brown, though. Brown jig bone. The regular run-of-the-mill one. Nothing from Tony or anything like that,
Well, it was not like it wasn't a custom of his. And
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was his. And he had offered me a really nice price. He'd give me he was selling his knives for close to $6,000. So I talked to him and I wanted. Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry. Now I brought up stuff I didn't think I'd bring back up. So this is in slip joints. This is one of my favorite patterns, which is the Sow Belly.
Oh, I love the Sow Belly. Yeah, I like that more than the 3-bladed Stockman.
Yeah, the Stockmans are nice. This has got a little bit more character to it. But the one that I wanted him to make me custom was one of these. It's a back pocket carry. Just one good solid blade.
Yeah, it's a single blade trapper right there or something.
Yeah.
I guess.
And so it was also referred to as a back. So this has got a good California clip point because the clip's back past half. That's the test mark. If the clip is at half, you're just a regular clip point. If it sweeps up, it's a trailing clip point. And if it's further back, it's California, right? And you're right. That other blade, now that you think about it, I never thought of it that way before. This is very much like a muskrat pattern blade out of the back of a knife because it's really far back, right? And smaller ones. But this is what I was going to have him make me, and he gave me everybody would say, "Oh, he wasn't doing you much of a deal." When he can sell a knife at the end, Tony Bowes would be on social media and just say, "Oh, I'm thinking about making a Texas toothpick." So when I was there, he was working on this exact project. He said, "I was thinking about making a Texas toothpick." He did not have a buyer. He just felt like making one. And he knew what that's how he ran his business. So when he said that, he knew somebody would offer to buy it. And so he had a
Yeah.
surgeon from Dubai contact him and said, I'll take it. And you ask what it costs, right? And so he offered to make one of these at a large discount for way less than what he would normally make it for me. And I didn't have the money at the time. It's just how life works. If I had the money, I'd be sitting on a Tony Bowes original, and I would carry it to show respect for him. He respected people who carried his knives and used them, even if
He was a
they
good
paid
dude.
$6,000. Yeah, he was a good dude.
Yeah, he definitely was a good guy.
Yeah, his son's a really nice guy too. We all hung out when I went down to visit there. They work in the same shop. I need to see his face because sometimes you meet so many people, and I'm really bad. I'm like, somebody might come up to you one day and go, "Oh, you know Grant? Grant who? Grant Lamontagne." It's like, you got a picture of him? Because it's just weird. Sometimes my mind doesn't work that way. I'm more of a face person. Yeah. So I got a question for you. We know we carry the multi-tools. We know we carry the multi-tools. So remember when I hadn't realized they had downsized or gone smaller. So these are the Knipex I carry. You said that there's a 4-inch and you carry the 4-inch?
I don't carry a 4-inch. I can't afford the 4-inch. I believe the last time I checked, those were somewhere around $80, which, sorry, that's a little much for just a basic set of pliers. Don't get me wrong, they are nice pliers. Knipex, if you want to sponsor us, I will be happy to take your money and talk about how wonderful that particular plier is, but at the current time, at $80 or $75 or whatever it was at Canadian Tire, that's going to be a little bit beyond me.
Yeah. See, I bought these on sale. So there's a site called Kansas City Tools, AC Tools. And what I did was every day for forever, I checked their daily special. And I think I bought these for like probably less than half. Like they weren't as popular back then. They were just out, so the price was a little lower. And then they put them on sale one day, and I got these two. And I'm going to be honest, people might get angry at me. If you're trying to reach in, here's a good example. I took them on a call with me one day, trying to undo the supply line on a toilet. And if you've ever been in some of these makeshift apartments, this bathroom was so small, so the guy would have leg room. They had to angle the toilet. It wasn't straight back and forth. So there was enough room for me to reach in between the vanity and where the valve was and the toilet was to get this on. And so what I have found is, for a fraction of the money, even when this is on sale, these things are king.
Absolutely.
Because if you set that up, you don't see, the only thing that stopped me was everybody go, blah, 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 blah. They make, well, you weren't using them right or whatever. I didn't have enough hand room to actually open them up and close them. I couldn't get them on the net. So this is already set. I go in there, get my quarter turn back out, jam it on. So
when it comes to not having the room, that is something I'm very well familiar with. I've probably told you gentlemen this story before, but we were out four-wheeling one day, and of course I had my old Jeep TJ with me, and one of the battery cables for the starter had come loose. So I had to try and tighten it back up. The only tool that I had available to me at the time was a Leatherman blast, and this is a perfect example of why I hate that ersatz needle nose pliers that is so prevalent in the multi-tool industry. The pliers were just long enough that they would hit the opposite contact as well on the crank. I only had about a 5-degree turn on it. So it was basically crank zap, crank zap, crank zap, crank zap, crank zap, crank zap. And it was not as pleasant as it sounds.
I've had worse knives than that.
Anyways, gentlemen, we are nearing the end of our show here for tonight. So what have we got in the way of takeaways? What would we like to say before we close out?
I just like to say, I'm looking forward to this podcast, and I think what people are going to find is what I like to talk about. We've got 3 people here that are assembled that I think the same way. Is there's no one right answer, and that if you find like I carry tools the day of that I know that's going to suit me the best I can, or for the job that I can. I'm very flexible. So anybody out there, and we're not picking on anybody in particular, at least I'm not, anybody out there driving like, oh, you got to have this, or you got to have that. There are some got tos, but for the most part, I think we're going to look at a variety of things that suit a bunch of different types of needs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Inky, you?
Yeah, no, that's what this is all about. He pegged it.
Yeah.
That's all of its opinion, but we could tell you what is decent and how not to get robbed too much. If you're not looking to just spend because of a name,
Maybe
as
that'll be
well.
next week's episode, stuff that we've paid way too much for.
That's my legacy.
Okay, well then I guess that's it for this week. I want to thank everybody for joining us. If you have any feedback on the show, feel free to visit us at forum.multitool.org. We'll have by the time you listen to this, we will have an EDC TV specific sub forum there. We'll make it pretty obvious so you won't have any problems finding it. Definitely sign up, give us some ideas on what you think of the show, tell us off for our opinions, and let us know what you'd like to see in future shows. Ask some questions, and we'll see what we can do about getting them on the air. And then eventually, when we figure out the software a little bit better, we'll have some of you actually come on and ask us your questions, participate in our discussions. Until then, I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's just a fantastic time to hang out with these two guys. I don't know about all of you out there, but watching these two just going back and forth talking about knives there's so much knowledge in this room, and I look forward to continuing on with this podcast in the future. But enough for being nice. That causes me great pain, so have a good night, guys. Thank you very much.
Take care.